First, we will see the syllabus first. You see with the starting, first one, sources. And the last one is disintegration of the Soviet Union and rise of the unipolar world. That is the last chapter in paper 2. Now, how we need to see this means, first you draw the map, India map. Earlier also you are comfortable in drawing map. Okay. In our GS class, we have done so many things, so many times. In another page, you draw world map. World map, you can draw equator. This becomes our reference. Start with Africa. Then you take it to India. Southeast Asia. Now here, Indonesia. Just below it, Australia. Now you draw Europe here. Europe. Then you take it like this, you merge like this. Now, South America. South America, North America. Is done. Now here, England. This is larger picture of India. When we see the position of India in the world, this is the one. Now, open the syllabus. First one, it is saying sources. Paper one is sources. To understand what has happened in this particular land. It happened 2000 years ago, 4000 years ago. We don't know what exactly. Unless those people left some kind of remains, only we come to know that. UPSC has clearly mentioned that those remains are, first one is archaeological sources, second one is literary sources. In the human evolution, initially there was no script. Do you have any idea the period before the invention of script, what we call? In the categorization of history, Mesolithic, and we will give one particular time, one description to such Stone Age based on the script, whether script is available or not. Suppose if script is available, we call that particular time period as with one name. Before the script, we consider with a different name. That is called prehistory. Another one is history. Proto-history is something which is in between. For example, Indus Valley Civilization, we have the script. Script is there. Does it mean we consider it as a history? We can consider, but problem is we don't know how to read it. No, we are not yet deciphered. That is why we call it as a proto-history. Even though script is there, we are not able to read it. And there is another way of interpretation also. Before the use of metal, that was called prehistory. Once metal started, that becomes proto-history. There are two multiple theories with respect to this. That's why for prehistory and proto-history, only archaeological sources. Yeah. With respect to Indus Valley civilization, Vedic. Chalcolithic. हाँ. This is with respect to UPSC language, this is proto-history. For example, you open the question. Paper one, you open the question. And you see the second chapter, prehistory and proto-history. And you see the syllabus also. What syllabus is saying in the second line? Chapter, second chapter. Beginning of agriculture, Neolithic and Chalcolithic. So if you go to the syllabus, second chapter is prehistory and protohistory. We are saying protohistory is Indus Valley Civilization, but Indus Valley Civilization is the third chapter. And go to questions. Go to questions. There is one question so that you will get better idea. Chapter 2, prehistory and protohistory. Now you see. Question number 2017. 2017, if you see, the emergence of non-Harappan Chalcolithic cultures in central India and the Deccan mark a change, not only in the subsistence pattern of people, but an overall transition from pre to proto-historic period. Here it is not talking about Harappan civilization. Clearly mentioned emergence of non-Harappan Chalcolithic. So that means Stone Age, Paleolithic, Mesolithic up to Neolithic is considered as prehistory, and Chalcolithic is considered as protohistory. Because Chalcolithic is only metal, there is no script. So this is way. Indus Valley Civilization also we consider as proto, because with respect to script. And with respect to the metal usage, we consider Chalcolithic also protohistory, because question itself is asking that way. Critically analyze that one. Okay. So this is how we need to. These sources chapter, after doing entire paper, entire ancient India, then we will come to the sources. Otherwise, suppose if I start taking literary sources, Kalidasa sources or grammarian sources or Sangam literature, if I start talking about that, you may not have clarity what happened first. That's why after finishing everything, then if we come to the sources chapter, you will easily connect which are primary sources, which are secondary sources. Up to Rajatarangini, we should be able to understand. Rajatarangini means which is the year. 1149. That means 12th century. So up to 12th century, we have the literary sources. After knowing the complete chronological order till Rajatarangini, then we will come back to the sources. Then we will just outline it. This is how. Now second, prehistory and protohistory. Our history says today our population is the largest population in the world. Now, initially, how these human beings came, from which location human beings came and spread in different parts of the world. To understand that, we have to have idea this. Research says from this location, they started migrating. This is the place where our Homo sapiens, the modern man, evolved. But from here, people spread everywhere. How do you think people came here? Because that time, it was very difficult to cross this ocean. Pangea was there much before the evolution of the human beings. Okay, Ice Age, around 10,000 BC, we consider it as Pleistocene age. But before that itself, people started migrating. How people reached to this location? Yes, from from Russia part, they entered this location, and from there, Alaska. Very good. So this is how it came. So always we need to remember that globe also. This way, people migrated to different parts. Similarly, they came to India as well. And what is the evidence? What is the evidence to understand these people were there means the stone tools which they left, tools. And our archaeologists, after independence, they intensely searched for human remains, human fossils. Stone tools, these stone tools, after thousands of years also, they can stay. But the human remains, they did not stay. They decomposed or in environmental change, they'll vanish. Our archaeologists, through these stone tools and some human fossils, we come to know. When it comes to human fossils, we got very few references only in few places. Remaining all the places, we got stone tools. Now, if I show, UPSC will give this chapter is particularly important when it comes to the map marking. Do you see this? UPSC marks different locations. And in these locations, in one of the places, UPSC may say hominid fossil site. This is 2012, 13. Now you observe this. This is the map, and they have given. What are these numbers? What are these numbers? 60, 70, 80, 90 longitude, and here latitudes. So based on this, we should be able to identify exact location. 14, 15, 16, 17, and you see from 20. What difference you will observe here to this and this? Exactly. Physical completely, and here political boundaries are also given. And one more observation. Pakistan also there, Afghanistan also there, here also. Okay. So these parts are not there, and these parts are shown. Do you see Tropic of Cancer here? So this is Tropic of Cancer also clearly given. Here it was not given. Because some sites, they are just above the Tropic of Cancer, some sites are just below the Tropic of Cancer. In that means UPSC is making easy. This is 2020. 21 once again, they changed, but 2022 they gave like this. We cannot say UPSC, that is up to UPSC completely. We should be ready with both. But one common thing between this and this is at least one place. Here you will see. Sometimes they may come one place, one place, one place, two places, one, three places. And you will find in some locations Bangladesh also. Do you see anywhere? Anywhere? Here. In 2019. 20 also. Here also. Here also. So few sites in Afghanistan, few sites in Pakistan, few sites in Bangladesh, and rest of the places like this. During Mauryan time period, there were some references. Mahasthangarh, for example, there when famine took place, some relief measures were taken. So we have, for example, Dhaka. Before the independence also, Dhaka was important port center, an important place. So that's why some locations, mostly our concern is ancient part only. In ancient times, if there is any important area, we will identify that. And if you observe, if they give the state location, it is very easy for us in which state, which location is there. These stone tools and human fossils, we need to identify in which states we got the evidence. In this process, we cover so many map locations. These locations, 50 marks itself. So there itself, when it comes to prehistory and proto-history, instead of question, they ask more of the map location. If we go here, you can see. Can you open the PYQ book? Do you see? No question. In 2022, 21, 20, 19, no question. 18, no. 17, 15 mark and 16, 15 mark. So what happened to these years? Maps. So most of the question with respect to prehistory and proto-history maps. Around 7 to 8 questions in map belongs to this place. That's why this shows the importance of prehistory and proto-history. (20 to 25, 50 maps. 20 questions. Yeah. Total number of questions. I will show you this. This is last year question paper. These are instructions will be given to you. 250 marks. Now you see question number 1 and 5 are compulsory. Here question number 1 is map. And fifth question is containing 5 questions of 10 marks. Compulsory. And out of the remaining, 3 are to be attempted, choosing at least 1 question from each section. That's why in section A, 2 questions you have to write compulsory. Section B, 2 questions compulsory. Other one, your choice. This is section A, first question. Now you see Paleolithic site, Mesolithic site with burials, Neolithic pit dwelling, early village settlement, Neolithic site, Neolithic Chalcolithic. Now see up to 6th question also Stone Age only. Harappan UNESCO site, 7th one. 8th one megalithic burial site, place of second Sangam. Now you see up to 8th question almost prehistory and proto-history. Next, place of Sangam, then Buddhism, earliest Satavahana capital, place of inscribed statue of Ashoka, Gupta hoard of coins. Now you see chronology wise, once prehistory is done, after Vedic period, Mahajanapada time period also we have so many capitals, they will come. Mauryan time period, we have some capitals also, different regions also, they will come. Post-Mauryan period capitals and other locations. Gupta. Ancient port. Ancient port, dockyard and port. Suppose if UPSC says near Lodhal and says ancient port, only Lodhal only. Yes. But the location may not be Lodhal. Maybe some other location. Now it is 2022. This is which one? 14th question, 2022. Yeah. So Lodhal. So likewise, whatever may be the location, our concern is what is the exact location. Then oldest Jesuit church also, center of Gandhara art. Now if you see, church comes in later, but Gandhara art after Mauryans. That's why the order may not be exactly, but more or less in the beginning stage you will find Chalcolithic up to Chalcolithic. Then earliest Vishnu temple, Shiva Buddhist temple, earliest Chaitagriha. So Buddhist temple sites, capital sites, important trade sites. Likewise, you will get all these. Now, if I show you, this is how questions will come. You see this part, UPSC terminology. These are the ways, how many number of ways UPSC can ask that particular question. Ancient administration center, an art center, Gandhara art, school of art. When it comes to Buddhist site, just Buddhist site, but in how many ways it can ask the Buddhist site alone. These are the number of ways. It's okay. Okay. Site name is only Buddhist site, but UPSC can give different names. A Buddhist site, a site known for Buddhist remains, a site of Buddhist monastery. If we have all the Buddhist sites in one place, and again statewide if we have, then automatically we will recognize. Now come to this capital site, similar way. Chalcolithic, now you see. Chalcolithic, just Chalcolithic, a Chalcolithic site. In 2017, 14, 13, 12. If you observe in 13 itself, 2 questions from Chalcolithic itself. In 12, these many questions from Chalcolithic itself. So this shows the importance of check and chapter more than the question map importance. Megalithic, Chalcolithic. In some locations, we have Neolithic evidence also, Chalcolithic evidence also. That is why they will combine Neolithic, Megalithic, Chalcolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, Chalcolithic period, Chalcolithic site. If you go to fossil site, this is fossil site, site of important fossils. This is where exactly whatever stone tools remains, whatever human fossils remains, our archaeologists are doing research to identify in which locations in our India earliest human settlement started. We need to identify those places. Identification of those places are very important when answering map question. Harappan site, then in Harappan site itself, in multiple categories. Code site, inscription site. Now, if we go to Mesolithic site, a Mesolithic site, a Paleolithic and Mesolithic site. Mesolithic site with burials. Neolithic site, Neolithic pit dwelling, Neolithic site. Paleolithic, Paleolithic factory site, Paleolithic site. Likewise, more than question, map related questions are important, and these 50 marks. Most importantly, when it comes to prehistory, proto-history, these plays are a little bit complicated. Suppose if you say out of 25, at least 9 to 10 questions will be related to this. And remaining 10 questions from Buddhism, Jainism, Mauryan, Guptas, like that it will come. So this shows the importance of second chapter, prehistory and proto-history. Third one, once people came and settled, because of this river, Indus Valley, people started settling and they utilized the resources and they developed a very big civilization in this location. And this civilization is Indus Valley civilization. This Indus Valley civilization, once civilization started, now can you see the chapter 3, origin, how it emerged, date, what is the date, extent, characteristics, decline, survival, and significance, art and architecture. Now, broadly, I will give you these dimensions, you can write. It did not mention, only one line it mentioned. When it comes to, if we see the previous year questions and all the subtopics, with respect to timeline. With respect to timeline, what is the period during which time period it flourished? Second aspect is geography. In which location this framework is going to be common for every period. If you replace Indus Valley civilization with Vedic civilization, next chapter is Aryans and Vedic period. You replace this one, these dimensions are going to be same. Where Aryans, what is the timeline of Aryans? And what is the geographic location of the Aryans? Next one, the subsistence pattern. Subsistence pattern, how they lived. When it comes to how they lived, it can be in the initial phases, hunting and gathering. People lived on hunting and gathering. Second one, after hunting and gathering, how people moved to the next subsistence. Can be fishing. Then started learning, producing their own crops that we call agriculture. Hunting and gathering also we can include. But for our study of prehistory, initially during Paleolithic time period, they don't know how to fish. In Mesolithic time period, they dependent on fishing. That's why we are separating segregate. Otherwise, you can include fishing also as part of this. But in the historical evolution, In Mesolithic time period, they were depending on hunting the animals. Yes, tools changed, technology changed. Accordingly, subsistence pattern also started changing. How they lived, what kind of food they eat. After agriculture, then naturally for agriculture, they require some kind of implements, arts or artisan works, industrial activities, you can say in the modern times. Then these people, professionals, these are professionals. There must be someone who exchange the tools that becomes trading activities. When the population is small, all these activities used to take place in small location. But when settlements, when the geographic spread increased, now they also became more and more professional. Today we see agriculture separate profession, industry separate, and services separate. Because this is the evolution of the geographical spread and also the number of population. This is going to be same. Now you replace with Indus, same thing. You replace with Mauryans, again going to be same. Now after this, in the initial stages, they were more worried about how to live. But after settling, agriculture came, everything, comfortable life came. Now they started protecting themselves. They started protecting people also. They started protecting their geography also. That is where political system emerged. And we can also consider this subsistence pattern as part of economy. Because in prehistory, proto-history terminology, we call it as subsistence pattern. But in the later time period, it emerged as economic dimension. Next one, after this, they have to protect this. In order to protect, separate profession is required to protect these people. How they protected? They have to protect their grain. They have to protect their children. And when two different tribes are there, it's a competition for resources. Like today, we have so many countries. That time, so many tribes, so many groups of people. And this is how political system emerged. So there must be some kind of rules within the group so that people will not fight always for the resources. This political system, when it comes to political system, who is the ruler? Or we can say leader. Gradually, the meaning of leader itself changed. In the earlier times, people, one of the person was chosen as the leader. Later, once one family is chosen, and from that family onwards, one after the other, same leadership from the same family. That's how monarchy emerged. Kingdoms. When they started expanding their geography, emperors, empires. But in the initial stages, there was no such kind of large geography. Their only aim was just to protect their children, their animals, their lands. And now, what they are going to protect as a whole, we consider them as a society. In society, men will be there, women, children. Then gradually, different social systems emerged, like slaves. Then when different people emerged, they started segregating. Varna system. Likewise, different categories in the social dynamics emerged and the society angle. Now, in order to do all these things, now they represent certain kinds of, just a second. They need some kind of technology. They started developing different technological tools. Nahi? Oh. We logged from. Fine. These technological tools, this advancement. And gradually, they started representing all these social norms, political norms, and other economic dimensions in the form of art and culture. They developed gradually some belief systems. Some crafts they developed. And gradually, all these beliefs combinedly, it became a religion. Different people, different religions. Now, these dimensions are going to be similar one. Now you see Indus Valley civilization in the syllabus. First, it talks about origin, how it emerged. What is the timeline in which geography it emerged? Date and extent, already there. Date, extent. Characteristics. The moment characteristic means all these things. What is the subsistence? What is the political system, society, technological, art and culture? Now, after this, any society, it reaches to the peak stage. First, it will begin. It reaches to the peak and gradually it declines. Any culture or civilization. Civilization means it emerged even into the urban level also. When it comes to urbanization, we consider that particular time period as a civilized one. Survival and significance. After the decline of these characteristics, they will not suddenly disappear. In this location, some socio-economic setup emerged. After this, these ideas entered into different location. That is what the survival and significance. Last part is art and architecture. Can you see the previous year questions in Indus Valley civilization? Come from 2022 backwards. Just you see only this. Origin theories. The urban character of the Harappan civilization was the result of neither of any outside influence nor a sudden act, but gradual evolution of regional socio-economic factors. Social factors, economic factors. You will find all these terminologies, same terminologies. Origin and decline. Economy. Did the mastery over agriculture act as a leverage for the rise of Harappan towns and cities? Purpose is to 150 words, to write 150 words. Your challenge is to concise the content. Right? Okay. How many words came? Okay. Fine. No issue. Plus or minus 10 or 15 words, no issue. Huh. Huh. Suppose if it is 150 words means 150 words you can say. 150 words. How many pages? One and a half page? One and a half page it will come. Finish. Hmm. Huh. So next time onwards, you try to underline these words also. Now headings, good. In between also, you try to underline some words, keywords. Now you see. Now you have a lot of content. Space constraint is going to be major issue. In this short space, how much effectively you can write the answer is only challenging one. You have given more importance to Harappan. More votes went there. And other one, political influence you have written, economic influence, society. When it comes to art and culture part, yes.
These three are the most vital.
Culture part also still relevant, very much relevant. Religion. So now, I am seeing this. But the amount of space you give to each and every dimension also matters. Some dimensions have occupied more space, some dimensions very less space, some dimensions no issue. Now, if this is the question, now you assume that this is the page. Now you want to convert this page into all the dimensions. Now it should be like dimension 1, towards 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because space is this much only. Ultimate aim is you can elaborate this each and every dimension if you are given space. But UPSC is not giving you space. That's why you have to bring all the dimensions into this space. That's why you need to mention the dimension, but reduce the description. Likewise, you have to utilize. Suppose if the same question is for up to here, then dimension 1, you can write up to here. Dimension 2, up to here. 3, up to here. 4. 10, 15 dimensions in single page becomes 7 dimensions here, 7 dimensions here. If it is 20 marker question, then 3 dimensions, 3 dimensions, 3 dimensions. This is how, when it comes to UPSC, you have to change the nature.
9 dimensions I can be.
No, it is not how many number of dimensions you give with more description. Suppose if you give 10 dimensions in the 2 pages, you give the description in less number of words.
How many? Like 2.
Enough. It depends on. Now if it is only for 1 page, only one line only, it is enough. Ultimately, you have to mention all the issues, all the dimensions that are there. Because space is not there, ultimate aim is to include all the dimensions. For this question, these are the dimensions. This is how what we learn from our history. We can learn, we know, at present we know we are agriculture. We learned agriculture from our ancestors. We learned crafts from our ancestors. We learned trading practices from our ancestors. And our family values came from our ancient. And from the conditions of women, whether it is better or worse, that it has its roots in ancient past. Whatever caste system, whatever evils we are seeing today have the same issues in the history. And polity, the political values which we are today following, ancient roots. For example, Kautilya's still we are following. Ganasanga's republican nature, we are still following. Some of the elements which are there, local self-government in Cholas, still we are following. This is what we will learn. But we have only this much space. How we will organize? We want to write all these things, but only we have space this. Just village local self-government itself can be a question. That can just itself is a 10 marker question or 20 marker, 15 marker question. That time you are going to elaborate fully. But when this question is about everything, then you have to concise all these aspects in single page. This is where UPSC style of writing, understanding and knowledge is different. But according to the demand of the question, converting that knowledge into these dimensions. Religion, still we are following ancient roots. Literature, we are so much literature. Some of the best literature in the world still. Sculpture, architecture remains, painting remains, music, dance. It is still relevant because every day we are enjoying these art and cultural features that has the roots in ancient India. If we don't know about our ancient past, we cannot really appreciate what is happening today. There were some positive developments in ancient that we are enjoying the fruits. There were some evils and we are working to eliminate those evils today. Caste system, untouchability, women injustice, all those things, they have roots in ancient. We are today working for that to eliminate them.
But some new, like the historians and those intellectuals now they're saying that the caste system did not prevail at one of this. We did caste system prevail, but it was just it was just a device of the British to separate and alienate people from different religions. People want to equal revolution because when they went for the census method. In Pune or in that area, they were asked about their caste and they did not answer about their caste. It has been mentioned in this dialogue has been recorded in the British Library. So how can this caste system be so evil because the caste system was not prevalent in the up to still the British because if you take it because Rana Sangha Mewar, he told that he would not daily defeats Akbar. He won't eat from a royal plate or he won't sleep in a royal house also. And he also takes the help of hills and the gold. Because the hills and the gold are today exists or maybe OBC caste. How can caste similar that when Rana Sangha was a Rajput Kshatriya, he ate from the same plate. He hunted with them. He died by hunting. So now could this caste be?
We have to find the evidences of ancient. For example, Gautami Putra Shatakarni. How do we know that he is a Brahmin? How do you know? What is the evidence? Literature, and he has taken the title like Eka Brahman. And his main duty is to protect the Varnashrama Dharma. So Varnashrama Dharma means, what does it mean? Does it mean Varna system was not in existence or is in existence?
Drinking from the wells,
Yes. Suppose when foreigners came to India, they were integrated into Indian social system. It was not as rigid as it is portrayed by the literature. And even, but there was one question also. Can you bring whatever question you are asking? Similar kind of question came in 2013 somewhere.
Bhagat system the Megasyn told that Alexander was both Akbar and his soldiers were tired to attack Magad's army, and he also mentioned the Magad army that they had some 50,000 elephants, 1 lakh horse, and 1,50,000 soldiers. This number
exaggeration. Huh.
50,000. 50% of all.
Probably, yes. That is the theoretical model. That is what Brahmanical text expect the society, but practically it was not that rigid. One of the reasons for Magadha rise also that liberal principle. Now, exactly UPSC is also giving the question. Can you read this question? 2013 question. So UPSC is asking that question. Now, whatever you mentioned, these evidences are going to be the answer for this. But there are evidences like Manusmriti, which says you have to describe, you have to follow this rigid norm. But practically different people are following different norms. When it comes to kingdom, the ruler is Kshatriya according to the norms. But the tribal people also ruled, Shudra people also ruled, and the so-called the tribal people initially, when it comes to the Kakatiyas by the time period of early medieval, they were Shudras initially. Well, later they became rulers. That is also kind of another one. Guptas belong to Vaishyas, but later they became ruler. In practical, all the different sections got the opportunity to rule. But at the same time, the norms, the Brahmanical text, they used to prescribe these norms. That this is how order should be, Varnashrama should be followed. Whoever is the ruler, they have to protect the Varna system. That is the social description, social norm. But in reality, it was a different one. For that question, you have to show all these differences.
My father this, I am doing
Yes, in early Vedic time period, society was like based on the profession, not by birth. Those arguments you have to bring to those questions. So it's all about how much argument or how much evidence you give. Simply without having any evidence, if you write one statement, it will not give the validity. But if you quote some evidence, some literary text, some foreign author, those who contemporaries, for example, in ancient time period, we have foreign sources like Megasthenes is there. So that description we need to critically analyze. For example, slavery. Slavery is in India. Megasthenes says slavery was not there. That means the way slaves were treated in Europe was different. The way Indian slaves different. Mm. They were not treated very harshly. They were treated very kindly. So like that. So slavery was there. As an institution, slavery was there. But the way they were treated is different from European counterparts. Yes, it is through the prism of British. Now, nationalist historians have countered it step by step, step by step. Hmm.
And there was just like Max Miller and all. They have like distorted a bit of geography also. But could you also mention about the Netflix historians and the Europeans? Because they are also kind of.
Every argument you can bring in the answer. There is no restriction. But if it is appropriate to the demand of the question.
Running against but that's the way she portrays in her book, like from Habib and from there was very rigid and people were like killed in the shadow also falls on well like being a negative impact on my answer
No, if you quote the author name, it is not going to be negative impact. In fact, it is going to give you weightage to the answer. But without mentioning the reference, yes, without mentioning reference, it becomes difficult. But if you mention the counter argument also, one evidence says this one evidence says this one. So based on more number of evidences, you take the judgment. More number of evidences are showing it is liberal. That means it is liberal. But entire system may not be that liberal. So there might, you can mention in conclusion also, we are going to write the same way. In some pockets, wherever these restrictions are limited, rigid, those norms tried to follow. But overall society was liberal. Otherwise, in our ancient times, this kind of intermixing is not possible. How come so many foreigners, so many migrants came and they are integrated successfully in the Indian society? They might have been given different varna system. Some were given Kshatriya, some were given Shudra, some were given Vaishyas. Again, it depends on the kind of profession they have chosen. Accordingly, they were given the status. But that flow within the varna system is not that rigid. That's why 2013 question was also same thing. So that we can, for example, non-Aryan literature also entered into Vedic literature. Non-Aryan belief systems also entered into. That means if society is that rigid, these systems will not enter. Society was always open. Different ideas were open to other ideas. For example, Buddhism, it attacked Vedic religion, but it has adopted the elements of Upanishads. That means openness is there. Upanishad, it adapted, and after some time, Brahmanism was not very rigid. The good elements of Buddhism were adapted by the Brahmanism and Bhakti movement, the Dashavatara concept. These things gradually, some kind of Buddhism influence. So in both ways, on one hand, the arguments were going on the other hand, integration of the elements were also going on. This is the uniqueness of the, that's why Amartya Sen has written one book, Argumentative Indians. He has said based on these evidences only. Since the ancient times, we have this kind of evidence. This is what exactly you have to bring in the answer. So in the conclusion, according to the demand of the question, suppose if critically analyze, you bring the positive elements, you bring the negative elements, but conclusion should be on the positive note. You can use those arguments, but ultimately that final twist should be positive one. Yes, positive. Reference. Authors. Authors. Yes. You will bring other opinion also, other historian opinion also. As long as you quote the historian name, as long as you quote the evidence when it comes to ancient archaeological evidence, literary evidence, your answer is going to give weightage, because that is how it differentiates between general studies answer and optional student answer. In general studies, without quoting all these things, we can write whatever we know, general description. But optional, we need to bring the evidences. This is what we call historiography. The more you bring, the more weightage your answer will have. 50%, 60% marks will come only through that. Otherwise, 40, 45, that amount of marks only it will come. Exactly. Now also 300 plus is possible only if you write historiography. When it comes to ancient part, if you bring as much evidence. But only difference will come you have to limit your entire votes into 100 votes, 150 votes, 200 votes, depending on the question. So first you write these dimensions. Take. So our entire ancient history, we can organize into one kind of table. Whenever economy comes, these are the minimum dimensions. Whenever society part comes, these are the dimensions which we are going to highlight. Our syllabus also organized in this way. So you just write this table. Sit down, sit down.
One of my main question was that like after comment, so they will always think about the index of Manoj. What the thing is that Manoj is not a single person, it's a left position. Some we have compared some but it is justified to the pension is to feel like some Manoj might be about the class about this in fact is not be allowed to this country or Twitter by the income is not ready or that such a person is so prevalent. It is justified for Manoj that their own policy focus to three lines and make them this is Manoj. So, sir, if we say here about Bandopadhy, he accumulated on street banana. So, street banana was and this counter three lines of Manoj. So, this what can
Depending on the question, you need to give the arguments. Suppose if for that question, society was theoretically norm, practically it is liberal. You bring all these arguments. In Satavahana time period, women were given high priority. The name also, mother, yes. Yes. Gender norm.
One of the members started not so this is done again they not no definite pattern has been in this completely debate of
You bring evidence. You forget about the debates. If question is about liberal society, you bring all this. In Vedic time period, liberal elements were there. In Shatavahana time period, liberal elements were there. When it comes to early medieval time period, many women rulers were also there. In Kashmir, Didda, women ruler. Then Rudramadevi in Kakatiya, women ruler. You need to bring all these arguments. If question is more about how society was liberal, but if question is saying there were so many restrictions on women when it comes to socio-religious reform movement, it is the one of the crucial areas where our socio-religious reformers they worked very hard. Yes, so those elements, practice of sati that was prevalent. You need to highlight that. because Raja Ram Mohan Rai fought very hard to eliminate that. Women literacy was very poor. Women were not given education. That's why Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he worked very hard. Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, they worked very hard to uh, women education. Likewise, you have the reference of liberal society on one hand, you have the limitations in the society also on one hand. You have to bring all both arguments and what is the present condition if question demands, if says. Forget about different historian because different ideologies were there in the historical study, different ideologies. Marxist historian looked the society in a different way. Nationalist historian looked the society in a different way. But UPSC expects us a balanced view from us. As well as a nationalist, even colonialist view also, if it is required. Because whatever initial days, whatever study we have studied, history, colonialist view initially. Yes, as a UPSC aspirant, as a bureaucrat, you need to take the balanced approach because our society is a democratic society. People have their own opinion. Their right to speech is there. We should not curtail that. Otherwise, innovation will not emerge. Whether you argue, whether you accept it or not, second part. But initially, you should allow the people to express themselves. It itself is a strength of the society. Allowing multiple versions itself is a strength of the society. Otherwise, entire society, if you expect entire society think in single dimension, then society becomes stagnant. Innovation will not take place. And we will become colony of some other country in future. Ideas, if there is no idea, if there is no avenue for expression of the skill, then obviously society becomes stagnant.
When you mention that the casting was not so rigid, as it is being portrayed, but like if the person who was taking my paper, if he is from suppose who is suppose from with the so like he feels that what is right, what is right,
If you quote the evidence, if you quote the even those who are checking copies also, they are enlightened people. Nothing to fear. If you give the evidence, those prejudices generally will not come. If you do not show prejudices in the answer, in the evaluator also that prejudice will not come. You are supporting your argument with evidence. That is what all it makes difference. As long as you quote the evidence, there is no harm in the answer in UPSC. Yes, whatever resources we have, whatever archaeological resource, whatever literary resource, whatever modern historians, based on those arguments only we give the. That's why even you will not get much votes also to elaborate. Because 100 votes, 200 or 200, 250 votes, you will only mention it. You mention the resource, you mention this is what this resource is saying. Mm. Mm.
And it's your moment. These two questions, I expect that questions will come for.
Mm.
Like 15 marks and 10 marks. I know that question will come. So I was thinking about that this moment is
Uh-huh. I did not record.
In that is, then I
Evening batch. You want to come morning or evening? Fine. Let us see that. Okay. So that's what. Tomorrow onwards, I will give you answer also. Question, answer. So that you have ready-made answer. So that from that time onwards, you can develop your own skill.
before we take history class, it does that. That how can that body political club is having which club? How can you be putting the study? We are ready the Rama and that Ram had a very good teacher of king of Sri Lanka. That I think Sri Lanka also the day is Rama is still working. That education of that.
But you have to quote very sensitively. Mythological or Ramayana also shows the linkage between India and yes, you can quote. But you cannot say that evidence as a fact according to. Yeah. As long as you can write sensitively, everything is allowed. No issue, no, because you are giving your argument with proper evidence. No, it will be strengthened. Without mentioning the literary work, if you say something, that becomes yes. Yes. You can quote. No issue. No harm at all. No harm at all.
of Sri Lanka, like that like Sinhala has been found and all those. So I can't mention that because it is not. I don't.
Yeah. You can say that in the culture, in our Indian culture, our interaction with Sri Lanka is since ancient times. Yeah. No effect. It will strengthen. Done. Now, final. Take the syllabus. You come to fifth one, Aryans and Vedic period. Aryans and Vedic period. Expansion of Aryans in India. Now you see this. In this table, expansion means which will come. Geography. Next one, Vedic period, religious and philosophical literature. Art and culture, religions, literature. Okay. Transformation from Rigvedic period to later Vedic period. That is political, social, economic life. They have given political, social, economic life. Significance of Vedic age. Significance of Vedic age means all these elements. Everything. Economically, socially, politically, art and everything. Evolution of monarchy and Varna system. Political monarchy, Varna system. Come to period of Mahajanapada, sixth one. Formation of states, Mahajanapadas, that is political development. Next, republics and monarchies. You can include here monarchy as well as republic. Republic. Next, democracy, republicanism. We are following the same principle. Rise of urban centers. In economy, you can include or in society, urbanization. Next, trade routes. Trade routes in economy. Economic growth. Introduction of coinage, economy. Spread of Jainism and Buddhism. Religion. Rise of Magadha Nandas. Political. Iranian and Macedonian invasion and their impact. External contact. Seventh one, Mauryan Empire. Foundation of the Mauryan Empire. Political angle. Chandragupta Kautilya Ardhashastra. Political. Ashoka, ruler, political. Concept of Dhamma. Political. Edicts. Then polity, administration, economy. Art, architecture and sculpture. External contacts. Religion, spread of religion, literature. You see? Everything, every part of the syllabus will fall under this. Then post-Mauryan, contact with outside world, growth of urban center, economy, coinage, development of religion, Mahayana, social conditions, art, architecture, culture, literature, science. Every word came in the table. Whatever is there in the table, everything. Now, early state, only difference, this will change. Geography will change. Timeline will change. But the dimensions are going to be remain. This is what our entire ancient India, whatever syllabus used, whether it is Guptas, Mauryas, Post-Gupta, Harshavardhana, Pallavas, you take anyone. Delhi Sultanate also, same thing we are going to study. Sometime question can be asked on economy completely. That means you are going to write all these things. Sometime question can be only on agriculture. That time you are going to write deep agriculture. Sometime only on urbanization. Sometime entire society. Sometime only village local self-government, or suppose if Chola administration, everything will come. This is how our syllabus is organized. Even though it appears very big, but ultimately this is the only thing. Each and every point in the syllabus we are going to write. We will cover all the previous year questions also. I will give ready-made answer also. I will make you write in the class also, and I will give every day one question. So while you are coming, that is your homework. You write and submit. Okay, tomorrow onwards, we are going to start with the ancient part.